Hello, everybody. It's me again, Amanda DeLalla, and this is Memory of Magnet. Um, as you know, this is a show where I delve into my Broadway show Magnet collection blind, pick one, and tell you kind of the story of me in the show and how it brought me to where I am today. Because, you know, because every show I've ever been to has had an effect on me in some way, all good. Maybe it's because, unlike some people who will see absolutely anything on Broadway, I'm kind of picky. I kind of choose what shows I want to go to make sure I like them and have a positive experience. Um, so that being said, let's mix up the magnets and see what we got. On the 20th century at the Roundabout Theater Company. Woo woo, choo choo. As you can imagine, by my chewing and the train, this show takes place on a train. And I saw this as it's billed madcap musical comedy at the American Airlines Theater, starring Kristin Chenoweth in the lead role of fabulous actress Lily Garland. But it also featured Peter Gallagher, who I mentioned in the Jagged Little Pill episode, Kathryn Gallagher's father, in the leading male role of Oscar Jaffe, and they were both really fabulous. But we'll get to the other part of that later on. This was one of two shows that I have seen on Broadway with my grandmother, who has since passed away. The other show that we saw on Broadway together, she really didn't care for. She just didn't get it. But on the 20th century, she had a good time. And it's not hard to see why. It's a show written by Cy Coleman, who you may know from Sweet Charity, Little Me, and a variety of other musical comedies. And it follows Lily Garland and Oscar Jaffe, who are former lovers that work in showbiz and reconnect on this train called the 20th century. But not before all this other crazy stuff happens involving a crazy old lady, two bumbling assistants, a bunch of out of control conductors, and and of course Bruce. Now you may be asking, there's that cell phone again. I really need to turn that off. And you may be asking yourself, who is Bruce? Now, Bruce was played in this production by Andy Karl, who you may know from Rocky, Groundhog Day, Legally Blonde, and a bunch of other shows. Bruce is Lily's current boyfriend. And let me tell you, Andy Karl as Bruce stole the show. I remember sitting there in the theater watching and thinking half the time when he wasn't on stage, but what's Bruce doing? I liked him that much in this show. And it was an absolute ball. And the part that my grandmother remembered the most was Mary Louise Wilson as the crazy old lady straddling the front of the train during the She's a Nut sequence. And that was an image that is still burned in my head in the most wonderful way. Kristin Chenoweth was in fine voice as Lily, and she got some really cool outfits to wear. A fun fact, after the show, as happens in New York City, I was hanging out in the house, and I ran into Robert Creighton, who is another Broadway actor. He was there to see the show. He wasn't actually in the show. And I had worked with him during my internship at the York Theater when he played James Cagney in his own show, Cagney. And it was really cool to run into him and catch up because it had been a couple of years since my internship. And you really never know who you're going to run into. The theater industry is a small one. And what was that other thing I wanted to point out? Well, it may come to me eventually. But nonetheless, Oh, Michael Mcgraw. I mentioned him in the last episode of Censoring on Nice Work If You Can Get It as a terrific character actor who I always try to see in different things. And he was in the show as well as one of Oscar's bumbling assistants. And even though his role may not have been as splashy and substantial as the one he had in Nice Work, he still was terrific and he milked it for all it had. And on that note, I'm going to grab myself some more milk because it's almost time for bed. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time on Memory of Magnet. Good night.